Today on Bridges, we have Todd Agnew, and we're going to talk about his latest project, From Grace to Glory. Welcome to Bridges. I'm Monica Schmelter, and I'm so glad that you could join us. I'm really happy that today on Bridges, we get to talk to and you get to meet Todd Agnew. And Todd, it's so good to have you on the program today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You know, I'm excited to talk about your project, From Grace to Glory, but I wanted to start with, it's been a while since 2012 that we've heard from you. What was about the delay?
Well, it wasn't really planned. It wasn't like this, hey, I'm going to take a break for a season. My life with family and with a lot of different things kind of shifted gears. And so that got busy, and we needed some time to figure that out, because we moved cities. My wife changed jobs. I started seminary, and so we had a lot going on, but still assumed that, hey, once everything settles back in, we'll come right back to it. And then some stuff happened with my label, and a mentor and wonderful person, John Fry over there, passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so it was a time where we had to kind of step back and say, okay, now what is God doing? How do we put this back together? And so it just took some time for everybody. And as we took that time, we kind of started seeing, hey, I think this is the right path right now. And it was a surprise to me. I didn't expect this to be the next record. And now that we've got it together, I've been really excited, just because I think it's the right thing for us to do right now, and it's neat to share this.
Yeah. It sounded like, you know, even though you weren't planning on the delay, you know, God knew that was going to happen, and He needed to do some things and rearrange some things. So tell me about the project From Grace to Glory. As I understand it, there's some really great stories that you share.
There are, because when the idea was presented, hey, let's do a greatest hits kind of record, my response was, well, you don't really need to do greatest hits records anymore. With iTunes and Spotify, people just listen to the songs they want to listen to anyway. But we thought the idea still had some value, so I just suggested, hey, what if we did like half the record as the hits, the songs people want to have, and then the other half of the record, what if we just did the songs that we wish they had, rather than being, well, these are the next most popular songs, you know? What if we just said, hey, look, I recorded this song for a U2 tribute album raising awareness for AIDS in Africa, and I love the recording of it, but it's not on any of my records. Or the song that I wrote for a friend of mine's book, or, you know, a demo, or just these different little special stories that actually was definitely the most fun part of this record. Even for me, it was more fun than doing the two new songs, which obviously I care a lot about. But digging into those stories and finding these songs and getting to share those again was a real joy.
Yeah, sounds like it was something that you really enjoyed putting together. And I know that you probably wouldn't want to say this, but your publicist told me that there are 3 songs on here that are already in the top 10. Is that right?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I decided about maybe a year into doing this that I didn't want to keep up with the radio anymore. That it was too easy for my heart to be wooed by that. To go, oh, I dropped from number 5 to number 7, and that's. At number 7, God is using you in the lives of people.
That's right.
And I was like, that's such a huge gift. I don't ever want to be wooed by that. Yeah. And so I just kind of stopped. And now I'm to the point that I'll hear it, but it doesn't register, and I don't, you know, go write it down or make a, you know, blog post about it.
Or tweet about it.
No, it's gotten to a really nice place where you can hear that kind of news and just be grateful.
Amen.
And then put it away because you need to go be a dad or, you know, whatever your job is at the moment.
Yeah, all the things that you have to do. That sounds, Todd, like a really great place to be in terms of guarding your heart and keeping the right perspective about all of life, that God has given you this beautiful gift of music that all kinds of people enjoy, including myself, that we just get excited because there's so much richness to it, and there's a lot of worship to it. Tell me about the worship part, as I understand you've been leading worship.
Yeah, that's my background. I mean, I was, doing youth camps and everything for years before anybody knew who I was, and that's still, a big part of what I do. Whether on church staff, whether going into a church for a weekend, I love that. And so, what God's done with it now is now I've started shifting into saying, hey, I want to train the next generation of people that are going to do that, because my generation has been a really beautiful season of worship, but we all learned by somebody telling us, hey, there's a youth group, good luck. That was our training, and
then you just kind of figured it out and prayed it through.
And you made some terrible decisions and some big mistakes, and God was gracious through all of that and let us still be a part of what He was doing. But we have a chance now to take this next generation and say, hey, let me show you, what I've learned. And a lot of us, that's our experience. For me, it's also Bible and theology. Those are things I care deeply about and that God's gifted me to work in. And so trying to help young worship leaders really build their theology of worship is a real joy.
Yeah. And how do you do that? And that was one of the things that intrigued me as I kind of read up about you, is that you've been in seminary and that the theology of worship is really important to your heart. Tell me what that means.
It is. So the details of it right now, it means that I'm writing my thesis. I just finished all my master's coursework.
Congratulations.
Thank
I know
you.
that's a lot of work.
It is. So I'm finishing that, writing that paper, and I'll finish my master's at Dallas Theological Seminary, and then I'm planning to turn right around and start a PhD. But continuing in that same focus of just trying to understand the Bible, trying to understand theology, but also as I move into PhD of how do you build a theology? Because especially as worship leaders, most of us never meant to. Yeah. We didn't sit down one day and say, I'm going to decide what I think about worship. We were just, we were taught, we had experiences, we had these things that came together. And so I want to start, working and finding young worship leaders and saying, okay, well, these are the things you're already doing well. So what are the areas of building your theology that you're missing? And let's help you grow in those. Because I stumbled along until I realized that something was wrong, and then try to do it on my own.
And it's harder, I think, when we just have to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
As we're doing it, we've all done that in some shape or form. It's much easier if somebody can mentor us and try to guide us and say, man, I've been there. Let's look at this. What would be an example of that? What would be something specific that you would share with a young worship leader?
Well, for me, I love the Bible. So that's where I go foundationally. So I love taking a young worship leader and going, okay, I'm not just going to give you the highlights. We're not just going to look at Isaiah 6 and Romans 12:1, which are wonderful verses.
They're wonderful.
But for our time together, we're going to start at Genesis, and we're going to do Isaiah 6, but we're going to do Isaiah 6 when we get to Isaiah. And we're going to do Romans 12:1 when we get to Romans, so that you have started in the garden and go to the new garden, understanding this idea of let's find what God said about worship. And let's start trying to tie those things together. And so, we work through the garden and go, hey, the word worship's not actually in there. It's no, we don't. Well, there's Cain and Abel making a sacrifice, but it doesn't actually call it worship until you get to Abraham sacrificing Isaac. And they say they're going to go up the mountain to worship. So, okay, well, let's start trying to make that something that we can understand, and trying to weave those themes that are through the Bible talking about worship into something that we can speak about and understand, because then once you can do that, I was like, okay, now you have something that when you're choosing your songs on Sunday, this is what you're wanting your people to accomplish. And it gives you a little bit of a framework, hopefully, for what they do.
And I think how much richer and more substance will worship have. As worship leaders are trained in that. We've got to take a break. We want you to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to hear more from Todd Agnew.
You can purchase a copy of today's show for $15. Call us at 615-754-0039 or send a check to the address on the screen. Please mention the program number on the screen.
The blood of Christ is the only cure. It gets down to the root of every single thing that ails us. There's not an addiction, there's not a generational curse, there's not any root of sin. There's nothing that the blood of Jesus cannot cleanse.
Visit MonicaSchmelter.com to schedule Monica to speak at your event.
When I truly turned my heart to the Lord, He took every sin I ever did away from me.
God really is your other half. God, He's the only person who can really, fill those holes and cracks in your heart that you're so wanting someone to fill.
It's no good to have a big dream if you're not putting yourself in motion to go after that.
If you're just joining us today on Bridges, we're talking with Todd Agnew and talking about his latest project, From Grace to Glory. And, Todd, one of the things that we've talked about that is just so special to your heart is really theology and being able to, mentor and lead the next generation in worship. And you mentioned teaching and leading, but as I understand it, you are a professor. Where are you a professor at?
I'm an instructor at Visible Music College. It's a college out of Memphis, Tennessee that also has campuses in Chicago and my campus in Dallas. It's training people in the music industry, whether it's to be an artist, to be in music business in some way, to be in the production side of things, or at my world is the worship leadership.
And I think, I guess when you start out, you never really realize how God's going to lead or what He's going to do. But first, for you as an artist, did you ever imagine that you would get to being a professor and studying for your PhD and like all that?
No. I was running the opposite way. My parents are both in education. So my dad is a college professor, so I've watched that my whole life, and I've always been the opposite of it. I've been the musician that didn't finish college, that ran off and did, that kind of thing. And so it was a strange turn when, my wife got a job offer and we started talking about Dallas, and DTS came into the conversation, and she just was like, you need to call them. She's like, you study more than anybody I know, and you're not in school. It's just who God made you to be. And so I was very grateful that DTS had a way to let us. It's my school, Dallas Theological Seminary. It's where I attend and where I'm finishing my my master's right now. And so that's let me continue my education to help me prepare to give. It's filled me up more, so I'm more capable and have more to offer the next generation of guys.
Well, I think with all you're doing, when I think about being an instructor and, just the great amount of study that you do, and you talk about how much you love the Word of God, which is so important for all of us, it's hard for me to imagine you had time to do From Grace to Glory. How did you work that in?
Well, part of it is that it's a compilation record, so a lot of those things were finished already. Okay. So we just had to go, okay, that one, that one, that one, and that one. But the rest of it is, you just choose and you prioritize and say, hey, we're gonna get up to Memphis for a week and knock out these 2 new songs. And for me, I was in school, so I was like, hey, I'm coming, but when we're done in the studio, I'm gonna go to my friend's house, who I'm staying with for the week, and I'm going to study. or I've got to get a hotel room because I have to work the rest of the time. And so so we were in the studio, but I have a bag of books over there, and so that you're working on electric guitar tones 1 minute, and then working on soteriology paper the next minute. And but because I've been around Ardent for a long time, which is a studio and the label that I'm at, it's home, and so it's a place where I can accomplish all those things.
It's kind of worked for you. We can see that Todd is extremely busy, balancing so much, doing so much. Do you have any favorites on this project from Grace to Glory?
I always talk about it like it's kind of like asking a parent which one of your kids is your favorite.
There's no answer to that.
There's not, because in music, each of those songs is a God's story in your life.
Amen.
And so there's life and breath in it. And for me, there's a memory of this is what God was doing then. And it's hard for me to go, well, this thing that God did was more important than this other thing. And people to go, what song is your favorite to play? I'm like, it's not actually on there. We didn't put it on. And to think about those kind of things. So the songs that have ministered to people for a long time are very special just because God used them.
Absolutely.
And then, the song I wrote with Ted Decker, my friend that's the author, means a lot to me just because of how it came together, and it was with a friend. And
what is the name of that?
It's called Martyr Song.
Martyr Song.
And it was a really beautiful thing to wrestle with his art as a writer, and then to try to create this. And so
was that a first for you to work with a friend that's an author and try to bring that to life?
Yeah, that's a first and only. It was really, really difficult because it was so foreign.
Sure.
I just didn't have any, I didn't have any framework for this is how this should go. But I was really excited about how it came together. And so, I'm still excited to get to share it again here.
Well, it's interesting how God, He opens up these doors, He gives us opportunities, and they grow us, and then with your gift of music, it's helping others. You mentioned that your parents are both in education, and I know that you have 2 children, a boy and a girl. So are they veering toward education, or?
No, they, they're middle school, high school, where you're kind of anti-education in general, just across the board. I was.
I remember Todd telling my parents I couldn't wait to get out of high school and just get a real job, because then I wouldn't have to work so hard. I don't know what I was thinking, but these are the things that what we say when we're teenagers.
It is. That's our view of the world. And I still remember being shocked as a senior in high school when my best friend, the guy I hung out with all the time, goes, I'm really thinking about being a teacher. And I just went, why? We don't like this. Why would you want to do this some more? But his point was that's why. He's like, we don't like this, but what if we could do it better? What if we could bring something better and add to that? And that stuck with me for years and years, and I didn't think it had anything to do with me. For 20, 25 years, and then God started turning this corner, but I needed to do all those things for a couple of decades, because now I don't necessarily want to come back and teach math, although that's what I do with my kids, but I do get to go back and walk through the paths I've been on, and this is what worship has been like for me.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for coming, and for sharing today. And you're going to do some music for us, so we're looking forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us. You're going to hear more from Todd Agnew, his music, this project From Grace to Glory, in just a moment.
For more information on a guest, visit our website, ctntv.org.
Join the Bridges community on Facebook. Visit Facebook and search for Bridges with Monica. We would love to connect with you.
If you would like to contact WHTN, you can write to the address on the screen or call us at 615-754-0039 or visit us on the web at www.ctntv.org.
Glory to our great Redeemer, spotless Lamb for sinners slain. My pardon purchased, my ransom paid. Glory, glory to his name. Glory to our great Redeemer, died by death that I might live. Such costly grace he so freely gives. Glory, glory to his name. Glory to our perfect sacrifice, a lamb whose blood covered my shame. The wrath of God poured out and satisfied. Glory, glory to his name. Glory to our great Redeemer, once an enemy, now reconciled. The stranger loved as an adopted child. Glory, glory to his name. Glory to our perfect sacrifice, a lamb whose blood covered my shame. The wrath of God poured out and satisfied. Glory, glory to his name. Glory to our great Redeemer, conqueror of death and hell. He was resurrected, raising me as well. Glory, glory to his name. Glory to our perfect sacrifice, a lamb whose blood covered my shame. The wrath of God poured out and satisfied. Glory, glory to his name. Glory, glory to his name. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see so clearly. And hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, and all my stains are washed away, they're washed away. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear. The hour I first believed. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, and all my stains are washed away, they're washed away. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing your praise than when we first begun. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, and all my stains are washed away. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, and all my stains are washed away. Hallelujah, 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 and all my stains are washed away, they're washed away.
You can purchase a copy of today's show for $15. Call us at 615-754-0039 or send a check to the address on the screen. Please mention the program number on the screen.
Join the Bridges community on Facebook. Visit Facebook and search for Bridges with Monica. We would love to connect with you.
Prayer changes things. If you need prayer, write to the address on the screen. Call 615-754-0039 or email prayer@ctntv.org.
Log on to www.ctntv.org, where you can make a prayer request, view our program guide, see who's on Bridges, or even watch one of Monica's latest teachings. Log on to www.ctntv.org.